No, 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 dude. A year ago, I got my hands on the rarest lumber I've ever worked with. A slab of 2,000-year-old bald cypress found buried 30 feet underground, and that set me back a whopping $6,000. I built a table from that and tried to sell it for 12 grand, and in the year since, I got 0 offers. What I did get was hundreds of comments from viewers who said I ruined it with too much epoxy and my questionable design choices. The worst part, even though I have 10 years of woodworking experience, they were right. So today, I'm tearing that old table apart and trying to fix my biggest woodworking mistake. But I'm up against a super tight deadline because I'm being forced to move out of the shop, and there is nothing I hate more than moving.
No! God, please, no!
All right, so here's what went wrong the last time. Now, that slab is the coolest piece of lumber that I've ever bought. I paid $6,000 for that slab, and I know what you're probably thinking. Dude, if it's that expensive, shouldn't it be like easy to work with? No, because this is root ball cypress, which means that grain is wild, the density is real inconsistent. I mean, some parts feel like stone and other parts feel like you could dent it with your thumbnail. And that's where the real problem starts. Now, I didn't set out to flood coat this thing with epoxy. That's really the part that stings. It's fine.
Hello there.
$12,000 table. I didn't go into the project thinking, I can't wait to encase a 2,200-year-old slab in plastic. What happened is I got defeated. I got tired of fighting the surface. I got tired of chasing flatness. I got tired of tear out and the punky wood grain, and I reached for the easy button.
That was easy.
And that's why this particular comment right here hurts so much, because it's not wrong. And then I decided to get cute with the base, and I was so hung up on the idea that this wood is, older than the entire Roman Empire, that I thought it would be a cool homage to 3D print Roman columns. Like, I was building Caesar's dining table, and the internet was like, Johnny, what are you doing? So for this redemption build, I'm making this simple with 3 rules that I must abide by. Rule number 1. No new epoxy. I can remove what's already there, but I'm not allowed to just solve my problems this time around by dumping even more plastic on it. Rule number 2, no 3D printing. Every time I try to combine furniture with 3D printing, it just looks like I'm trying to force it, and that's not what I'm going for. And rule number 3, I only have 2 weeks to finish this table because I have to move shops again. And once that move starts, everything's gonna be complete chaos. That table will end up sitting here a whole other year, and I just don't want that to happen. Because I can sit here and tell you all day long that this new version of the table is better, but that doesn't really mean anything. So at the end, my new landlord, Mike, he's gonna be the one to get to judge it. No sugarcoating. I mean, if he thinks it looks like I ruined it, that's the verdict. And the scary part is, I have to remove all that epoxy first before I can do anything else, and I have no idea if that process is gonna destroy that slab. All right, have you guys ever watched the movie Office Space? And more specifically, the copier scene, where they finally snap and take a bat to that copier machine. And that's sort of like me here with this table.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
That was really good timing. Because I'm not just frustrated at the table, I'm frustrated with myself. I'm frustrated that I rushed it. I'm frustrated that I covered it in epoxy instead of doing the hard thing. And if you didn't watch that first video, don't worry, this one stands on its own. But a quick recap, I built 2 bases for that first table. One was made out of wood, and honestly, it was decent. And the other was a 3D printed Roman column monstrosity, which I actually threw in the dumpster a couple months ago because I just couldn't look at it anymore, and I didn't film that process. But I did 3D print a smaller replica just so you guys could, get a sense of how satisfying that moment really was. Went a little something like this. I believe I can fly. I do still have that wooden base, so you guys get to see me destroy that one in real time. I'm not really gonna smash it. That would be a complete waste. I'm actually just gonna cut it apart because there's a lot of usable lumber in there, and I'm not gonna light money on fire twice. And given that slab was $6,000, there's probably like at least $500 of usable cypress accent pieces in there. If I can even reclaim a portion of that, that's a few $100 that I don't have to spend again. The new base for this table has one job. It has to look timeless. Not trendy, not YouTubey, not gimmicky, like something that could sit under the slab for the next 50 years and still make sense. And I'm gonna build this one in a more traditional way and try not to be completely reliant on using my CNC, which I often am. I'm gonna do this one by making templates and then flush trimming the pieces to the final shape and then using real joinery, because if this is gonna be a true redemption story, I don't wanna take any shortcuts, which that's not really ideal because I'm staring at a 2-week deadline and I'm choosing the slower version of doing this. And while 2 weeks sounds like plenty of time, any setbacks that I have are gonna seriously jeopardize that timeline. Unfortunately, Setback is my middle name, but then they couldn't get it in time.
They didn't order it.
Yeah, they didn't order it. Seriously, my parents named me Jonathan Setback Lambert, which never made sense until right now.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
All right, to fix the tabletop, the first thing I have to do is remove that epoxy flood coat, but I can't just throw it on the CNC and flatten it like a normal slab. Now, one thing I think I'm kind of worried about, we don't want to get through the epoxy. We want to stay like where there's like a 30-second of the epoxy. If we gouge into it, we're gonna create a lot more work because I don't wanna lose too much of that thickness. My goal is to take off just enough that there's only a thin layer of epoxy left, and then I can take my time sanding out that last little bit while making sure I don't go too far. This is the bit that I'm using. This is a 3.75 inch flattening bit. That guy, give it one of these. And I have enough experience with my CNC and flattening slabs to know that there's always this fun little phenomenon that happens where, that first pass that I program actually cuts deeper than it's supposed to. I think I've accounted for that. I think I've got it all set up correctly. But right now, I'm basically gambling with a $6,000 slab. So the whole reason why I did that flood coat to begin with, this is some pretty soft wood. It's already cropping up as an issue. So yeah, I already went too far, which means we've got tear out, we've got those soft fibers ripping, like kind of spongy. Kind of dig my nail into the wood. It's kind of like chipping out. Yeah, that's why this was such a challenging build the first go round, and it remains a challenging build the second go round. I'm committed to not covering this thing in epoxy again, so I'm gonna do something. I don't know what. I almost tripped. And for a redemption project, it's not a good sign to be making mistakes so early on. And because I already messed up the top, I figured, I might as well just go ahead and flatten the bottom without babying it, because what's the point of being careful now? Also, I forgot to remove those threaded inserts on the bottom of the slab, which would have totally destroyed that big old flattening bit that I have. I'm really happy I caught that. At this point, I needed to know something. Is this a Jonny problem, or is this wood just cursed? So I handed off that initial sanding to Jeff. Jeff has been woodworking as long as I have, and don't tell him I said this, but he's kind of good at it.
Hey, Jeff.
Yep.
You're kind of good at it.
Good at what?
So if there was anybody in the shop that was gonna sand this slab flat without having divots, it's gonna be Jeff. And right away, he's dealing with the exact same thing that I was.
Sanding this tabletop is a huge pain in the ass. The wood is very soft. Even though the grain is extremely tight, it's soft and there's some parts that are real spongy, which is almost like sanding styrofoam. And when you get onto the epoxy, which is very hard, and you transition onto the softer wood, it's difficult to not dig down into the wood. So you have to go really light and really slow to make sure that doesn't happen.
Which is sort of validating, but also terrifying, because that means this slab is still the real villain here. I mean, we're this early into the project, and I already just want to hit that easy button and flood coat it with epoxy, because this is all the same stuff that I ran into the first time around when I was making this table. I just want to flood coat it in epoxy again.
Jonny, don't do it. No epoxy,
Okay.
Jonny.
All right. I know it's the rule. I can't do it. I'm not going to do it, but I wish I could. So while I'm taking a mental break from working on the top, I'm going to focus on the table base, because if I can nail that table base and solve the slab problem later on, I still might have a chance to redeem this project. Well, no turning back now, because this thing is destroyed. Now, I know I do want to preserve this wood and use it for another project. I just don't think it's going to be this project. What I need to do next is figure out the design of the base. And as a matter of fact, you know what? Why don't you guys come with me? Now, what I normally do when I start designing is get my iPad and my computer and start doing some sketching and some 3D modeling. Now, on this one, I have no idea what it is that I want to make, but I know it needs to be something that's way more elevated than those first two table bases I came up with. I think you guys like hit it right on the head. Like, that was a special piece of wood. I'll never get to work with something like that ever again. And my intention when I set out was to honor that wood, and I missed the mark. So I've got to come up with something, an elegant vibe, but also like it needs to have strength to it. Elegant, but strong. So I'm having a bit of design block here. This actually happens pretty much every time I try to design something, especially when I'm like, I gotta get it done like fast. My brain just like shuts down. So I probably need to just stop, take a break, probably sleep on it. So that's what I'm gonna do. And sleeping on it was totally the right move because this design is what I showed up with the following day. With how dark the cypress gets, I feel like I need to go with a lighter color for the base. I didn't film it, but I flattened it down on the CNC to 1.5 inches. Then I just made these templates. I carved these on the CNC. This is 1/4 inch MDF. Another thing I gotta be concerned about is grain direction, because this is gonna be connected like this to a hub at the bottom. What I don't want is the grain running in this direction, because if that were the case, this thing would snap along the grain. So we need the grain running this direction so this piece will be as strong as it possibly can be. It's gonna be hard. I wonder if I can stack 2 right in there. That's how the turkeys make the cabbage, is what my grandpappy always used to say.
My grandpappy used to say, Jeff, stop doing that. You're gonna go blind. I said, Grandpa, I'm over here.
And I know I said earlier that I was gonna try to salvage that old base to build the new one, but there just ended up not being enough lumber to make that possible.
Not very good.
Now, this slab is the same wood that I used on the first base, and I think I can get all the pieces that I need out of just one slab. Ow! Shit. It's so hot.
Smells like hot dog.
What do you have, Jeff? Your timing couldn't be better. And it was so hot, left its mark in my finger. Look at that, right there.
Yeah, it's not the first time.
Oh, get the out of here. That's crazy how that bit literally just broke, and seconds later you come walk.
Really?
Okay. It's not so much that this method of using templates to cut the pieces and then flush trimming them to their final size is slower than using the CNC. It's actually probably a little bit faster. It's more so that it's a lot more work. Work that's keeping me from working on the tabletop right now, and I was already having serious doubts that I could even salvage it. I was like, I'm gonna get all the way through this without messing up another blade. This project is all about redemption. You know, owning my mistakes, taking that feedback, and then rebuilding this table the right way. And doing things the right way is especially important to me, not just as a woodworker, but also as a husband and a father. And I only want to work with sponsors that fit that mold. So I'm really excited to say that I partnered with Bombas, and they're the sponsor of this video. And Bombas has this amazing business model where every item purchased equals an item donated. And so far, Bombas customers have helped Bombas donate over 150 million items of clothing to those experiencing homelessness. So it's definitely a brand that I admire. And the best part is they make really nice stuff like socks and underwear and slippers. And I picked up a pack of these Hextech Performance running socks for myself. Great for those long days when I'm on my feet in the shop. And I picked up Katie these really nice Bombas Sunday slippers. Hey babe, what do you think of your new Bombas slippers?
I love them.
And aren't you sick of wearing cheap socks that, you know, after a couple months, they're sagging, they're all stretched out, they got holes in them? If so, join the other viewers like you who rave about their Bombas socks. So do good and feel good with Bombas, knowing that your purchase is actually helping real people out there in the world. New customers get 20% off their first purchase. Just go to bombas.com/JonnyBuilds and use the discount code JonnyBuilds at checkout. They've got a 100% happiness guarantee, and I want to give a big thanks to Bombas for making this video possible. So at this point, I'm about 3 days into the build, which means I've only got like a week and a half left. And normally that's really stressful, but also manageable, except like I mentioned earlier, I'm being forced to move shops again. And once we transition to shop move mode, productivity is gonna drop off a cliff. So any setback that I have now is basically stealing time from future Jonny, and future Jonny is already really stressed about that move. But you know what? Let me just show you the new shop and I can explain fully what's going on and why I have to move. So I've been in my current shop. July will be 3 years, and that's when my lease is up. But since I've been in this shop, I have had so many issues. Every time it rains, we get water in the shop. I've been broken into 4 times. Don't even get me started about the door and the door latch. Then I found the shop that we're headed to right now, and it is the perfect shop. The problem is it's available now, not in 6 months when my lease is up. I explained my situation to my potential landlord, Mike. He's like, you know what? I'll give you free rent until July when your lease is up if you want to take this shop over, which is crazy generous. And I just, I need a way to like pay him back. He's just an extremely thoughtful and generous dude. Okay, this is my new shop. 5,700 square foot, broken up into 3 different buildings. You've got the main shop right here. You've got this L-shaped shop back here, and this is the office. He's in the process of kind of cleaning out these shops, so I can't show you the inside right now, but we can go in the office. So come on. There we go. Let's get some lights on in here. We have an actual break room. This will be kind of the common area where Jeff and Parker have their desk. And then in here, I get my own office. Pretty cool. This is my new shop. I'm sorry I can't show you more right now. There's a lot of work to do here in this new shop, and there's a lot of work to do on this table, so let's get back over to the other shop and get that finished. So yeah, at the end of this video, Mike, my new landlord, he's gonna be judging the table, but there's also a big surprise for Mike to thank him for all his generosity that he doesn't know about yet. And I'm really hoping he's not on to me either.
That ain't supposed to happen.
All right, back in my current shop, I've got all those base pieces cut and ready to assemble, and this is where my brain becomes my worst enemy, because I'm looking at the design and something just feels kind of off. And I'm thinking, if I keep heading down this path, am I gonna regret it? So now I'm thinking maybe it just needs like one more element. Maybe it needs some sort of texture or just something that elevates it further. And that's where the danger is. One more element is exactly how you end up with plastic fake Roman columns on a table base.
Why are you the way that you are?
I was all ready to put this table base together, and I realized that it's not enough. Now, I really like the table base. I really like the shape, the 5 ribs, the way it all comes together, but I think it needs another element. And to add that extra element, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in here with my CNC and I'm gonna carve a pattern into each side of the legs. So I did the trick that I've done in the past where I take kind of a sacrificial spoil board and I cut the shape of 2 of the legs mirrored so I can then lay them down in here. And this way, the CNC is gonna know exactly where these pieces are, because that's one of the hard things about carving a piece that you've already cut out is referencing it again on the CNC. I'm gonna do a pattern that I've done a couple times called vector waves. It's really, really simple, and I think it's gonna look really good. Now here's what's crazy. The second that CNC started carving in those vector waves, I hated it. I mean, I didn't tell Jeff or Parker, but I could feel it in my gut. It didn't look timeless. It looked like I was more trying to distract you, like maybe I was taking a shortcut. And that's something I struggle with a lot. There's this phenomenon called analysis paralysis. And the more I learn, the more options I have, and then the harder it gets to commit to anything. So you're just left not making any decisions. And I'm a fan of all sorts of different types of furniture design. Everything from Victorian furniture to modern to Japanese, mid-century modern, and just about everything else in between. And then I end up with no distinct style, just a pile of influences. And now, because Mike's involved, there's that extra pressure. What if I finish this table and he's like, that's cool, but it's not my style, which would be a fair response given what a mess my creative process really is.
There we go.
So Jeff had this really good idea. If the whole point of this video is redemption, then shouldn't we actually be listening to why those viewers hated it? So we're gonna do a little celebrities read mean tweets moment, except it's gonna be me and Jeff reading mean comments about my worst table yet. On that first video, there was a ton of comments, almost 2,000 of them, and while the vast majority of them are overwhelmingly positive, there was a bunch of really negative comments. I picked out some of the better ones, and we're gonna go through and read these sort of mean tweet style. So here's the first one. A tabletop made from 2,200 years old wood buried underground for centuries, with legs made from 3D printed plastic, with the feel of a picnic table bought at a gas station. And that comment, I think, is the most liked comment of all of them. It has 496 likes. I think it perfectly encapsulates kind of the general vibe of how people felt about this table.
$6,000 on 2,200-year-old wood to drown it in effing epoxy. I guess the neck and hand tats should have clued me into his decision-making process.
I guess getting a neck tattoo is bad decision making.
I would never get one. No, Jesus Christ.
Neck tattoo, frowny face, frowny face. Click out. Yeah, they really don't like the neck tattoos. What are we gonna do when Moose gets a neck tattoo? Here's a short one.
All right. Is that a reference to my height?
If you weren't sitting on a phone book right now.
I'm standing currently. 2,200 years old wood. I thought we were supposed to seek medical attention if it lasted more than 4 hours.
Why, but why are you Americans obsessed with epoxy? Question mark, exclamation point, question mark, exclamation point, question mark. You ruin the wood. Do I even have to mention plastic BS in the base? Wow. Wow, indeed. I did ruin the wood. They're not wrong. Captain Jack 2112 says, yuck, what a waste. Won't even mention the irritating, nonstop ad revenue pitches. Poor old wood buried in epoxy and natural beauty. Adios.
It is good that they're bilingual. Adios.
Adios. Adios to this comment. I've got all those parts cut and ready to glue up, and I realized something that I should have caught way earlier. Like, if I just glue these ribs straight onto that center hub, that's gonna be an end grain to end grain glue up, which is basically woodworking's version of thoughts and prayers. So the correct way to do that would be to have those ribs socket into the hub. This is gonna mean more glue surface that's not end grain to end grain, and then the hub cap, I guess for a lack of a better term, is gonna lock those ribs into place, and then the hub is made from 3 stacked layers, 2 of which can be through mortises, but the top one needs to be a blind mortise so it locks the ribs into place. The good news is that this is a pretty simple and straightforward process, provided you have the correct template bit on hand, which I didn't, and it was gonna take 3 days to arrive. After 3 days feels like an eternity because now I've got even more time to do what I'm best at, second guess literally everything. So Jeff is over there sanding and sealing the slab with some Total Boat Gleam. I like this. This looks a lot better. I've been on a little bit of a side mission because the biggest problem with this slab is the softness. And I've been racking my brain trying to solve that without epoxy, which has been not fun. And then it hit me, a lot of people hate epoxy, but everybody loves glass.
Right, it's a glass.
A glass top would protect the wood, it would solve the softness issue, and honestly, I think it could elevate the whole table. But then getting a piece of glass cut to a custom size and delivered quickly is almost impossible. But thankfully, one of my neighbors in this industrial park where my shop is located is a glass company. So I gave him a call. It's ringing. Hey, what's going on, man? This is Johnny. I need it's a round piece of glass, 1/4 inch thick, clear, 56 inches diameter. We're gonna do a pencil polish on the edge. Okay, just as soon as you can, man, please. All right, dude, thanks. Okay, I'm somewhat hopeful. He said he's got some suppliers in Dallas and he thinks he can get it here in a couple days. Hopefully. I don't know of any other way to do this table without putting a glass top on it. It's the move. That's a little bit of a weight off my shoulders, or so I thought. So now the question I have to ask is, did I find the cleanest solution possible, or did I just create another stressful aspect to tack onto that 2-week timeline? I mean, trying to get a custom piece of glass in a matter of days is no small feat, and spoiler, what I now refer to as the Glass Saga, didn't get that name from being easy and quick. How's it going? Johnny here. You're telling me it's gonna take 2 weeks. Yeah, that's too long, man. Yeah, just let me know. Talk to you soon. Bye. So I told him on that first phone call that I had to have it really quick and I wasn't worried on price. And he just called me back telling me all the different ways he can save me a little bit of money here and there. I don't think he really got the message. I'm 5 days into this build and it's stressing me the out. Yeah, okay, well, fingers crossed.
Walking into the shop and this is what I find. What are you doing up there, buddy?
Oh my God. Yeah, you got yourself into this, bud.
I believe I can fly.
You are a psycho. Are you stuck, dude? Need help?
Don't worry about Moose. After a couple minutes of sitting up there surveying his kingdom, he let us come get him down. Now, you might remember earlier, Jeff was sealing the tabletop with some of that varnish, and that was because there was a bunch of those little pinholes and voids that we needed to fill on the top of the slab.
I thought you said no epoxy on this one.
I did say that. This doesn't count, even though I'm using epoxy. This is just to fill all the little holes and divots and tear out and all of that. I'm not gonna like flood coat it. Like that's what I meant, even though I did say no epoxy.
I think you said absolutely no epoxy.
Now, I couldn't find my normal black pigment, but all I could find was this pigment that I'm pretty sure is almost 8 years old. Hopefully, this will go okay. I don't think that's enough. It might be enough. Actually, that looks really good. One of the things that I'm gonna run into using this thick set epoxy to fill all these little divots and pinholes and stuff is that when Total Boat changed the formulation to a 2-to-1, it's a little bit more viscous, or what it used to be. So, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna use a little bit of heat. Not too much, because you don't want the epoxy to flash on you. Maybe just a little bit of heat. That should warm up the epoxy. It's also gonna pop a lot of those bubbles that I whipped in there. Hopefully that means it'll flow better. 2 weeks, no pencil polish. For how much? $415. It's not gonna come in time for me to get this project done, but yeah, no, I really do. I appreciate you trying. All right, thanks. No glass, it ain't happening. I do have one more trick up my sleeve. It's a local glass company that I've used in the past. I am gonna throw one more Hail Mary. They already have a piece of glass from a previous project. I'm hoping by convincing them to deliver that glass, I can also convince them to cut another piece and deliver it at the same time. The Glass Saga continues. Good news, that router bit that I've been waiting on to show up finally arrived, and the timing couldn't be more perfect because I decided today I'm going in a completely new direction on that table base and I don't need it. All right, there is only a few days left to get this table completely finished, and I haven't even started assembling the base. And there's a reason for that. If you remember earlier, I said there was just something about this base that wasn't sitting quite right with me, and for the longest time, I couldn't quite put my finger on it. But I think now I've got it figured out, what I don't like about this. And it all goes back to the tabletop. That cypress wood, it's got a kind of a rustic vibe to it. Cypress, it's soft, there's a lot of variation in the grain pattern. It's got kind of a grayish brown look to it, so it already looks kind of rustic. Well, this maple that I used, that slab, it's also got a rustic vibe. There's a lot of color variation, there's some spalting, there's all kinds of different grain patterns, and it's not coming together the way I envisioned. And then if I was to put this table base with that tabletop, the whole table is gonna look rustic, and that is not the vibe I'm going for. So, against better judgment, with only a few days left to get this project completely finished and give it to Mike, I'm gonna completely remake a new table base. Now, the good news is Jeff also makes tables. He does commissions on the side, and he can make use of this table base, so it's not gonna go to waste, but we're gonna go out to the CNC and we're gonna make an entire new base and try to get it slapped together in like a day. I don't know. Why do I always do this to myself? Why? So for this new base, I decided to go with red oak, and there's a very good reason for that. You know, red oak doesn't look great by itself, so I'm gonna use red oak, but I've got this really, really cool finishing process that I'm gonna use on it that you're gonna see here in a little bit. I've already got this piece cut. I've already got my G-code ready to go. To save time, I'm just gonna cut all these parts out on the CNC. Red oak has really long, straight wood fibers, and because of that, it's prone to tear out, especially when you're cutting it on the CNC. And this also means it's prone to splinters. And after 10 years of working with this stuff and all the splinters I've received in that time, I feel like red oak is just a part of me now.
He's more
Red oak.
than man.
I freaking knew that was gonna happen. I had 2 of these and I used one of these, I don't remember on what project, but it broke pretty quickly, so I'm not surprised. If anybody out there has any tips or tricks on using long reach bits, please let me know. I used the exact speeds and feeds as recommended by the manufacturer. It was real conservative and it still broke. So I don't know what I'm doing wrong at this point. I think what I'm gonna have to do is change the shape of the center hub into a pentagon. That'll give me the 5 sides where each one of the ribs will come out. If I have flat surfaces, I can do it on a router table, and I think I'm gonna have a lot more control. We managed to get all the pieces cut out super fast, but there was a ton of tear out on those center hubs. The tear out usually happens where the bit changes directions in the material, and if you look at my design of the hubs, there are lots of corners the bit has to carve around. Now, the new center hub pieces are pentagons, and I'll cut the mortises for the ribs to slot in on the router table, but I didn't really think about how awkward that operation was gonna be. I was counting on just clamping all the center hub pieces together and then cutting in the mortises on all 4 pieces at once, but that was not working the way I had hoped. You guys might be wondering what those 2 holes for. Those were so I could align all of these pieces after the fact. That wasn't working. So I've got that angled edge and I'm trying to reference it off of a straight fence on the router table, and stuff was moving around. I was trying to cut all 4 pieces at once. It was just not going well. So I am abandoning that. I made it the first time we shot this. And I made this little guy. Hold on 1 second. I 3D printed this little guy right here. This is my router jig. I don't know, it's got a little wasteboard. So when I push those pieces through, I don't get tear out on the back side. Each one of these slots in like that. I can run it over. This will reference the fence. And then I can just flip, cut, do that on all 3. Yeah, I think that's gonna work out quite nicely.
I thought you said no 3D printing.
Well, this doesn't count. There's no 3D printing like on the table, but I did say no 3D printing. This doesn't count. This is allowed. I checked the rule book. I can do that. I know these don't look perfect right now, but the good part is they don't need to be. And after I glued them up, I can clean up those mortises with a little chisel work and then flush the edges over on the disc sander. As I start getting the table base put together, I just want to say that I truly do appreciate you for clicking, for watching, and I'm just at this point in my life where I'm busier than I've ever been with this YouTube channel and raising a toddler in my mid-40s. So I know how valuable your time is because I also value mine. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for choosing to spend some of your time with me. And I think I have some of the smartest viewers out there on YouTube, and I appreciate when you guys call me out when I don't give these projects my best. So if you've been enjoying this video, please consider getting subscribed and turning on notifications so you don't miss my next upload. And I'm really excited about my upcoming builds, especially this epic Dungeons and Dragons table that I got commissioned to build. And if you have an extra 3 minutes, I'd really appreciate you filling out a quick survey that I've got linked down below in the video description. That survey is gonna help me immensely in making the best videos I can, and I truly care about your feedback. So if you just take 3 minutes to fill out that survey and then comment survey down below, I'll pick 4 winners for a Jonny Builds prize pack, including a t-shirt of your choice. Thank you to all of you again for supporting what we do here.
On the router table, we had a little bit of blowout right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill it with some wood filler. This is my favorite wood filler, the Minwax, which stands for miniature wax. It's stainable, dries really quick. It's perfect for something like this that'll just get covered up with India ink or any kind of finish. Whatever, there's a talking head for you. It's been about 30, 35 minutes, so I'm gonna sand it down and we'll see what it looks like afterwards.
I'm trying to finish up this base assembly, and then I have this annoying little hiccup where I broke the glue bond of the hubcap when I was attaching the ribs. It's not anything major, but at this point in the build, I need to start stacking wins, and I'm really hopeful that the Glass Saga is about to be over because that would be a massive W. So I just had an interesting phone call with that other glass company, that local glass company, and he just told me he can cut that piece of glass today, put the pencil polish edge on it today, and deliver it. I think the Glass Saga is finally gonna be over. With only 3 days left before we finish this table and Mike judges it, I think we're gonna get the glass in time. What a roller coaster this has been. Like, who knew it was so hard to get a piece of glass? God. So this is the piece of glass that just showed up. And this is for a project I've been working on for maybe a year now. But they said they were gonna deliver the 56-inch round piece of glass that I need for this table. And I just found out it's not ready. And they're gonna try to bring it back tomorrow, I guess. I don't know. That was a surprise. I did not know that they weren't bringing that piece. I guess it'll either be here or it won't. Either way, that'll have to be okay. I don't know. Okay, cool, whatever. So I've been talking all video long about how difficult this wood is to sand for a bunch of different reasons. Whenever you're sanding off epoxy, that epoxy likes to gum up and ruin the sandpaper. That's not really what's going on here. The sawdust that's coming off the top of this table is gumming up the sandpaper. You know, I keep cleaning it with this, but what you get is you get these little bumps on here that are really, really stuck to the sandpaper. Even cleaning them, these don't come off. And if you leave these here, you're gonna get a bunch of swirls and uneven sanding pattern that's gonna show up when you put on finished. Like, I've been sanding just like the first kind of layer off. I'm about to put on my 6th piece of sandpaper. I really need y'all to know that sanding this table sucks. All right, earlier I mentioned I had a special finish plan for this table base, and then Jeff sort of spoiled it a little bit by giving away that I was gonna stain it with some India ink, but that's just the base coat, as you're gonna see here in a sec. I don't know about you guys, but I think this looks awesome. Got one more trick up my sleeve. It's a process I've only ever done one other time, and it's using this stuff right here. This is liming wax. This is a white wax, and as I rub it over all the wood, what's gonna happen is that white liming wax is gonna get down in all the grain, and then when you buff it away, you'll have the black surface with all the grain highlighted with the white liming wax, and it creates a really, really cool effect. I think it's gonna be like the final piece of the puzzle to really, really make this table base match my vision. So that's what I'm gonna do. Hopefully I don't regret it, like everything else I did on this table the first go around. Wait, how do I even use this? White liming wax, clean, dry, blah, blah, blah. I think it's pretty noxious stuff. Like, I need to put on a respirator. Let's do it. Going to start on the lower base just as a test. Oh God. I'm guessing that some of y'all are watching me do this and yelling at the screen like, Johnny, what are you doing? You're ruining it. And you're right, this looks terrible. This is not the look I was going for. Staying really hazy, it's not buffing off the way it should, and it just kind of looks all ghosty and rustic. So I was all set to use this big 7/8 inch round over bit that I have right here, but the problem that I've just discovered is that existing chamfer doesn't allow for it. Too much material gone already. I have to use the exact same chamfer bit that I used on this the first time. If you recall earlier, I had to remove the threaded inserts that attached the other two table bases, and then that left me with these 24 holes that I need to fill on the underside of the table. And I'm just using one of my scrap pieces of cypress to create my own plugs. And now you see why I put the tape on there.
Okay.
And since I can't count on the glass showing up, I need to make sure I put a stout finish on this table. And as soft as the cypress is, the finish needs to be able to flex with the wood, and that's why this Total Boat Gleam was the perfect choice. And for some extra protection, we did add some paste wax to the entire tabletop.
Grab a rag and let's bust this out, dude.
It does knock down the sheen. Like it kind of evens it out.
Yep.
Yes! Did we just invent a new finishing technique?
I got some extra over here if you need.
It's Friday, the last day, and I have to go meet my new landlord in 3 hours. We put 5 coats of that Gleam Spar varnish on top of this table, and it probably needs at least 3 more. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to take this over to the new shop, and Mike's gonna get this table, right? He deserves it. He's the one that is allowing me to move. For that reason, I am going to gift him this table, but I don't have any way to get the finish done today before I show it to him. So I am gonna have to take a little bit of a shortcut here. I think what we're gonna do is buff it out and get kind of an even matte sheen going on. I'm hoping the glass will help kind of give it faux sheen look. I don't know. I mean, you guys tell me. I still think that it looks 1,000 times better with the Gleam versus that epoxy flood coat. With that Gleam, you can see so much of the grain. It surprises me like how beautiful this wood actually is, and I'm just really excited to show it to Mike. We still had one more part to make, and that is that steel ring that's gonna connect all the ribs on the table base, and then it'll connect the table base to the tabletop. Oh my God! Okay, the glass just showed up. Here she is. I'm gonna carry it into the shop. I should not be trusted with breakable things. All right. I'm gonna need your help for this, Jeff.
It's heavier than what it looks.
Yeah. I think we've got it far enough along that we can show it to Mike today and he can get kind of the general idea, because I'm really not technically finished. I mean, it's literally Friday. This video will be coming out on Sunday. That's how like literally up against the deadline we are right now. When I look back at everything we've done and all the challenges that we've faced over the last 2 weeks, good fucking job. Me, you, and Parker getting this thing done in time. Now, we're gonna take it over to the new shop. Where are we gonna set the glass down?
Set it over there.
Oh, yeah. No, dude. No! Are you kidding me? Oh my God. This cannot be happening right now. We had 2 pieces of foam. I drove like a freaking grandma. Mike's gonna be here in less than an hour. Have we ever been more cursed than what we were with this freaking piece of glass? I'm at a loss for words, man. I'm never transporting a piece of glass ever. I don't have time to like fully process this. I'm gonna internalize it and like push it way down. I feel like I should say something like real positive or motivating. Okay, Mike's almost here, but I wanted to give you guys the first crack at seeing this finished and hopefully 2,200-year-old cypress table. And I'm really hoping that Cyber Maine is watching right now. And if so, Mr. Maine, I have one question for you. Did I redeem this table? And you know what? Same question to the rest of you. Let me know down in the comments below. Everybody, this is my new landlord. This is the guy I was telling you about. So generous, letting us move into the shop and giving us rent-free until July.
I love your passion for what you build. I'm excited for you and to have you guys here. Couldn't be a better fit.
So what I want to do is, these are the pictures of the table when it was first made. This wood that you're seeing here, one, it's completely encased in epoxy, which people hated. So this is the tabletop. This wood is a slab of what's called sinker cypress. This tree was carbon dated to have started growing in 181 BC. Wow. 2,204 years ago. It's a cool piece of wood that's got this great history. I got cute with it. I made this Roman column base.
That is so cool.
I thought it was, but here's the thing that people hated. This is all 3D printed. I built this wooden one.
So this is the third base we're looking at. Can I guess?
Guess what?
That you went pedestal?
Kinda. Okay. All right, here we go.
How many years old again?
2,204 years old. Actually, 2,205 years old now, because we made it last year.
I think it's beautiful. Absolutely
check out that
beautiful.
base.
That's it. You found the base for it. 100%.
That's awesome, man.
100%.
You want to know the best part?
It's a Lazy Susan.
It's yours if you want it.
Oh, no.
It's 100% yours. I'm giving you this table.
I can't take that. You're going to tear me up. I can't take that. That is so cool. I love the base. Oh, come on. I'm trying to figure out a spot.
I've got to refinish the top. Finish needs a lot of work. We got a piece of glass to put over it.
Oh my God.
So then it'll have a nice piece of glass. And then we drove over here, and on the drive, the glass broke in half.
No. Well, I can't thank you enough. I'm honored. There's a breakfast room area that we have.
Okay.
That my wife hates the table that's there. That's where it should go.
All right, thanks for watching. If you made it this far into the video, spam the comments with white liming wax. And here's a few more videos I think you'll enjoy.